All right, so the first thing that we're going to start working with here is how we actually set this up in the first place. So how do we get a nav mesh that spans all the sides of this? So I'm going to head over to Package Manager, and the first thing that you need is to find AI navigation. That's probably not going to show up by default because it's experimental. To add it, all you need to do is go up to the plus icon, add package by name, and you're going to be entering just in the name field com.unity.ai.navigation. That's it. com.unity.ai.navigation. Case probably doesn't matter, but it's all lowercase. And then just add it, and that adds it. You're good. I'm using Unity 21.3, so I am in an LTS version. That's important to me that I stay within LTS, so I actually maintain support for Unity, even if they're not going to support the AI navigation. All right, so that's in the system now. Next, I need to work out how do I actually get the rest of these things. Now I've got, let's clean up that. Okay, so I've got all these different nav meshes in here, and I'm going to clear these out so we don't have any navigation. Normally in the past, you would just use the navigation panel up here over in, let's see, what is that? Windows AI Navigation. So we end up getting to here, we have our humanoid navigation. That's the only one that I've got in there by default. We can add more. So we have humans, we have tanks, we have whatever size units or the way that they move, basically, being defined here, or the limitations in what their nav mesh structure can look like. So how high can they step? What angles can they move at? How wide are they? And how tall are they? Because if you have a spot that's too short, you still can't you're not going to be able to get through it. Okay, so now the first thing is if I take, rather than using the navigation here, which still has the bake functionality, but last time I tested it, I didn't actually get a nav mesh built. So I think when you have the experimental features installed, it turns this one off, even though the bake functionality is still there. So I'm going to go over to the inspector, and one of the things that you can include on this is I just created an empty object and I put in a nav mesh surface. You put in a nav mesh surface, it's got that same definition of settings. So I can choose the agent type and change the agent settings as well with other ones. But it pulls up this information that it's a radius of 0.5, a height of 2, a slope of 45, and a step of 0.75 meters. All right, so that defines the agent type, and that's it. Well, it defines it. I also need to click Bake. Now, this one only added the top surface. Its rotation is 0, 0, 0. What's really remarkable about this one is the fact that if I take one with a different rotation, so this one has a Z rotation of 90, which should effectively make this side the up now, effectively looking at it, the normal of this one is pointing at the same direction to the right, or left, or whatever the Z90 is. Anyway, so I'm going to bake this one too. And now it covered all the sections that were on this side. They're even broken apart, and that's fine. And so I can do this with all of them and just select the rest, hit bake, and you see it actually starts producing all of them at the same time. That's awesome. And now I can look around the entire object, and I can see that it has the nav mesh support across the whole thing. Of course, this doesn't work. This doesn't work yet. So when I go into the code and try to run it, I will press R, which does that same thing we saw at the beginning, and all these units are traveling around all over the place, but they're stuck on the top surface still. We still have all the other surfaces, so we're going to need a way to expand and let these things connect with the other surfaces.